What's up guys, my name is Devin and welcome back to another episode of Footballrs. In today's video, we're going to be breaking down the top skill cleats of 2024. Honestly, we didn't see a ton of new skill cleats for this year, so a lot of this list is going to be the same from last year. There are a couple new faces on this list, but then a lot of the same as well, so keep that in mind. This is my list, my top 5. Everyone has different preferences when it comes to cleats, but this is going to be my favorite cleats from 2024. For this list, I've chosen a top 5 and then 2 honorable mentions as well. Let's get into the list. The first honorable mention is going to be the New Balance Prodigy. This is the first skill football cleat from New Balance in a while, so there's some kinks that they have to work out, but overall, it was a pretty solid skill cleat. The comfort on these was kind of lackluster. I expected them to be more comfortable like the New Balance shoes, but they honestly weren't that. The upper is their Phantom Fit material, and while it's super duper supportive, it is very stiff all the way around. These do have a nice booty on the inside, but honestly, the tongue part is a little bit too thin, so you do feel the pressure of the laces, which was a little bit uncomfortable. They do have some nice padding in the heel, but not enough in my opinion. And then you do get some of this collar kind of digging into the side of your ankle, so not so great there. These do have a great insole, and then the overall quality of the cleat is really nice as well. And then the traction plate on these is one of my favorite I've tested this year as far as skill traction plates go. This thing is amazing. Then the fit and support on this cleat is also top notch because of that stiff upper. You get tons of lateral side to side support, which is really nice. And when you go to cut, the cleat truly feels like it's part of your foot. The price on these is $170. If they were a little bit cheaper, they'd be higher on this list. For $170, I just don't think these are as good as the other 6 cleats above it on this list. Coming in at number 6, we have the Adidas Adizero Electric. Now this is a cleat Tony actually reviewed, so a lot of this information is going to be coming from his review. The fit on these cleats was pretty good. The toe box wasn't as tight as we've seen in some of the past Adidas cleats. Everything about this cleat is lightweight, which means kind of a bare bones feel. This entire cleat is about lightweight and speed, and because of that, there's not a ton of support. The padding on there is minimal. The side to side support is minimal. It just really feels like a bare bones football cleat, like a track spike on the football field. The new traction plate on these was pretty interesting. It has 7 diamond shaped studs and then 3 in the rear. Now this traction plate might have gripped too well. When you go to cutting these, you're really getting stuck into the ground, and it can be a little bit tricky and a little bit dangerous sometimes just because of how well it's gripping the ground. So overall, this is a cleat built for speed. The traction plate's pretty good. It bites into the ground real good. There's very minimal support whatsoever. It is literally just like a track spike on the football field. Now we're going to get into our top 5 list. Coming in at number 5, we have the Nike Vapor Edge 360 Untouchable. Now just like the Adizeros we just talked about, overall these are incredibly bare bones, very raw feeling all the way around. These do have a little bit of padding in the heel, but honestly it's not enough. You really do feel the back heel cup kind of pushed up against your heel. These do have a Flyknit upper, which keeps them pretty lightweight. This is the same upper they used on the 2014 model, so you know already what that material is all about. These do have an ankle cup, but it was a little bit looser than I would like. With these cleats, the fit was kind of weird. I do suggest going to the store, trying these on, getting the right size that fits for you, because for me, I got my regular size and they just felt a little bit too loose. These have the Nike grip insole, and then beneath that, they have a plastic shank that runs throughout the length of the cleat. This is what replaced the 2014 carbon fiber, which gives it a very snappy feel. And of course, this has the edge traction plate, 2-piece plate. We talk about it all the time. It has these studs on the edge part of the foot, so when you go to cut, first thing hitting the turf, getting in and out of the cuts, no problem. I already talked about this a little bit, but because of how lightweight and thin this upper is, there's not really a lot of side-to-side support. You really do feel yourself kind of moving around inside the cleat. Honestly, not something you want all the time, but for a pure speed cleat, I get it. From a design perspective, these things look incredible. I think these are the best looking cleat in football, hands down. I think they were in 2014, and I think they are now. I think they look incredible. The only thing is that there's only, I think, 3 colorways available, so that's the only drawback as far as the design. The price point is another drawback. These retail for $180. Nike's definitely playing on that nostalgia factor for some of you guys out there. $180 is a little bit steep when their regular skill cleats are, I think, $135 or $140. So definitely an expensive football cleat. If it was a little bit cheaper, it might be just a little bit higher on this list. Coming in at number 4, we have the Jordan 1 Low. Now these were on the list last year, and they're still a nice low cut speed football cleat. When these first came out, they were super hyped up, sold out in a bunch of different places, but now the hype has died down a little bit. They're a little bit more accessible, and they are actually a very good football cleat. For me, these felt very similar to the Nike Vapor Edge 360 Speeds that actually just missed the list this year. They're a low cut, lightweight speed football cleat that's super bare bones and very raw feeling. The comfort on these is meh, but the fit is really good. It's just a nice classic 1985 Jordan 1 design, of course, so you just kind of tie them up and it gives your foot a nice hug. Super tight fitting football cleat, pretty narrow all the way around, and just exactly kind of what you want in a bare bones skill football cleat. As far as style, I mean, they're Jordan 1s. It doesn't really get much cooler on the gridiron than a pair of Jordans. They look good. They come in a lot of the classic Jordan 1 colorways, and like I mentioned, they're much more accessible now, and the retail on these is $140, so it's a little bit cheaper than the Untouchables we just talked about, and they're pretty much available on most sites in most colorways. Overall, definitely not the most comfortable football cleat on this list, but if you want a raw feeling skill football cleat for $140 and infinite style, these are the one for you. One of my sleepers on this list, that's going to be the Under Armour Spotlight Clone 4.0. Now I know a lot of you guys are like, why is there an Under Armour cleat at number 3? But honestly, I really love these cleats. The comfort on these was really nice. These have a nice internal booty that's actually 2 different pieces, and it feels incredible all the way around your foot. Down low, you get a nice thin foam material, and then up top, you get kind of this thicker, more supportive material that gives you a spat-like feel on your ankle, which I really liked. These also have some really nice padding all the way around. The tongue has padding, around the ankle has padding, and they even have some padding where the heel cup is. So a lot of companies seem to leave that space open so your foot really locks in, but they added a little bit of foam here, which helps kind of protect yourself against some of those awful blisters. The upper on these is a nice quilted material. This is Under Armour's clone material. It's very soft, it's very flexible, and it feels very nice all over your foot. The insole on these is Under Armour's Super Foam, which is one of the best insoles in football. Under Armour always kills it with insoles. It's a nice thick material, feels really nice under your foot. Now I talked about it a little bit earlier, but this has a nice heel cup, which actually gives you some pretty legit support side to side. It's a nice thicker material. It truly feels like a spat once you tie them up. You get like that spat-like feel on your ankle, which gives you the support you need and feels really nice. One of the few downsides to this cleat is the traction plate. This is Under Armour Spotlight traction plate. Honestly, I wish they would update it. It's been a while. They still have kind of these weaker circle studs. Not a huge fan of them. It does the job, but I think that Under Armour could do a little bit more innovation on the traction plate side of things. The style on these is honestly pretty good. It's kind of tough for them to compete with the Nike and the Jordan of the world because they are Under Armour at the end of the day, but they look pretty good. I mean, this clone pattern on the outside looks really nice, and they have some really good colorways as well to go with your team. Then the price on these, I believe, is $130, which is cheaper than a lot of the other cleats we've talked about so far. So $130, you get a really good cleat with some really good protection, a good looking cleat overall. I think this might be one of the best bangs for your buck, and that's why I have it at number 3 on this list. Coming in at number 2, we have the Nike Vapor Edge 360 Pro 2. Now these are just your classic Nike Vapor Pro football cleat. Nike's been kind of killing the skill football cleat game for a while, and this is their latest pro model. They haven't come out with a new one yet, so we're still rolling with this one right here, but it's still a good football cleat. Now the comfort on these is pretty good all around. They do have some nice padding in the heel. I wish it was a little bit thicker. It's like a nice horseshoe shape. It does a pretty good job kind of locking your ankle in and giving you a little bit of padding there. I do wish they used the same padding that they did in the Speeds. It was kind of like these circle pods instead. It was just much better, but these will do. These have a traditional lacing system and then even some runner's loops here on the side, so you can really tighten them up, get a nice locked in fit, so the cleat truly feels like it's part of your foot. Then of course for the traction plate, these have the edge plate that we've already talked about a bunch. 2-piece plate, edge studs on the outermost parts of your foot, so when you go to cut, it's the first thing hitting the dirt. Gets in and out of cuts quick. It's the best traction plate on the market, and again, it has that plastic shank that runs beneath the insole, so it has a nice super springy feel that kind of springs you into that next set. Then the style and silhouette is just classic Nike, super smooth design, big Nike swoosh on the side, couple of cool details all the way throughout, bunch of cool colorways. So as far as like the design goes, I don't think you can do much better than these. Overall, man, these are a good football cleat. They do everything right. Good traction, good fit, and the price on these I think is at $135 now. I think it's a little bit more expensive than it was last year, but so is everything else. But at $135, that places them pretty much in the same realm as the other cleats we've talked about, aside from the New Balances. But overall, I think $135 is a very good value for these. And finally, at number 1, before we reveal the number 1 skill cleat of 2024, if you guys are enjoying this video, please make sure to subscribe. At number 1, we have the Nike Vapor Edge 360 Elite. Now, yes, these were my number 1 cleat last year, but in my eyes, nothing has surpassed these yet. Of course, these did release last year, so this is the second season they've been running these cleats, and they are still my favorite cleats in football. For me, these are exactly what I want in a football cleat, top to bottom. I said it a bunch during the original unboxing and review on these, but these cleats aren't going to be everyone, but for me, personally, they are flawless. These are easily the most comfortable football cleats I've reviewed in the past couple of years. These cleats feature a super soft, foam-like booty that gives you a tight, comfortable fit all the way around your entire foot. The padding in the heel is also super thick. It has a nice circle shape, which is a little bit better than what we talked about on the Pros, but it locks down your heel super comfortably. And then just like the Pros, these have the traditional lacing system and a runner's loop, so the cleat is super secure on the foot. You get that serious heel lockdown when you lace them up properly. The cleats fit tight to your foot, but also leave you with a little bit of breathing room, which personally is something I like, so this is just a perfect cleat for me. The unique thing about these, and I talked about this obviously in last year's video, is that yes, they are a Vapor football cleat, but they kind of have an Alpha football cleat feel. It's kind of a mix of both worlds. You get the Vapor speed, but then you also get some of the support of an Alpha. I just think it is the perfect in-between football cleat. The only true downside to these is that they weighed in at 11.5 pounds, which is a little bit heavier for a skill football cleat, but again, these are kind of like a big skill hybrid football cleat, so they get a pass in my book. And they really don't feel that heavy on foot either. And then for the last time in today's video, we got to talk about the Edge traction plate. Yes, this has the same traction plate as like 2 or 3 of the other cleats we talked about on this list. Edge plate, 2 pieces, edge studs, outermost parts of your foot, excellent traction plate, has the plastic shank that runs through, gives it a nice super springy feel. I mean, it is the best traction plate in football. Now the final drawback with these is just that the colorways are super limited. They have an all white, a blue, a red. They have some other like fade colorways, but honestly they don't have the same amount of colorways that they do for the Pro and the Speed. So that's really the only downside for me. I always get my cleats in all white, so I think this is gonna be perfect. I don't need any crazy fancy colorways. That's really the only drawback I can think of. But overall, man, these cleats absolutely blew me away in every single category, and they are still, to this day, my go-to pair of football cleats. There you guys have it. There are my top 5 skill cleats of 2024. Hopefully this video did help you out in some way. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to like the video, comment what you guys want to see us do next, and make sure to subscribe for more videos just like this one. My name is Evan, and thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of Footballrs.